The cameras weren't rolling, but the drama could have filled a season all by itself. Imagine this: a packed courtroom, tension so thick you could practically slice it. And in the center of it are Rashida, the woman fans have admired for her strength, composure, and loyalty, sitting in utter shock as Jasmine dropped a revelation so bold, so unexpected, it left everyone speechless. What started as a routine hearing suddenly spiraled into chaos, a spectacle that had the internet buzzing within minutes. Social media timelines flooded with disbelief, hashtags trending faster than the judge could bang the gavel, and whispers echoing from the back rows of the courtroom. Did Jasmine really just say that? Rashida tried to hold it together, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Her jaw clenched, but the truth came crashing down like a tidal wave, and for the first time in front of both cameras and critics, her tears betrayed her strength. Jasmine, poised and unflinching, leaned into the microphone and delivered a statement that not only shook Rashida but also threatened to dismantle everything she thought she knew about her marriage, her family, and her future. The courtroom gasped. Fans watching from home gasped. Even Kirk, the man at the center of all this drama, buried his face in his hands. This wasn't just a reveal, it was an explosion, a moment so raw, so loaded with betrayal and pain, that it will be remembered as one of the most shocking twists in reality TV's messy history. And tonight, we're breaking it all down: the accusations, the tears, the fallout, and what this means for the family moving forward. Because if you thought you'd seen Rashida and Jasmine clash before, you haven't seen anything yet. The courtroom was silent, yet the air buzzed with unspoken tension, as if the walls themselves knew a storm was about to break loose. And all eyes darted between Rashida, Jasmine, and Kirk, whose fidgeting body language betrayed that he knew something was coming, long before the rest of the world did. But no one, absolutely no one, was ready for the intensity of what unfolded that day. The case itself had started off as procedural, a standard hearing that fans assumed would be about custody details, visitation rights, or financial arrangements. But Jasmine walked into that courtroom with a look that said she wasn't there to play by anyone's rules, and the smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth only heightened the curiosity of everyone in attendance. While Rashida, dressed in a crisp, understated outfit as if to remind the world that she still had dignity, sat stone-faced, trying to project calm, though her trembling hands betrayed the storm brewing inside her. Then, as if reading from a script designed to demolish the very foundation of Kirk and Rashida's carefully built narrative, Jasmine stood, adjusted the microphone, and with the eyes of the entire courtroom glued on her, she declared in a voice both icy and defiant, "This isn't just about custody. This is about the truth Kirk has been hiding from everyone, including his wife." The gasps rippled instantly. Phones lit up with people furiously texting updates to friends, and even the stenographer paused as if her fingers had lost the rhythm of documenting such chaos. Rashida's face flushed crimson, her lips parting in disbelief as her gaze flickered toward Kirk, who shifted uncomfortably in his seat, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Jasmine, what the hell are you talking about?" Rashida hissed, under her breath, though in a room filled with reporters, bloggers, and fans disguised as spectators, nothing stayed private. Jasmine turned sharply, eyes locked onto Rashida like a hunter on her prey, and delivered the line that would echo in gossip blogs for weeks. "Ask your husband about his second baby. The one he swore to me he'd claim. The one you've been kept in the dark about." The collective gasp that followed was deafening, people craning their necks, trying to catch Kirk's reaction, and Rashida, frozen in her seat, looked like her entire world had just tilted off its axis. Tears welled in her eyes, not because she believed Jasmine immediately, but because the seed of doubt had been planted, and deep down, some part of her feared it could be true. Kirk stammered, shaking his head. "That's not true. She's lying. She's doing this for attention," but his words lacked conviction, his voice cracking under the pressure, and Jasmine seized the weakness like a shark circling blood in the water. "Oh really, Kirk? Then why don't you tell everyone where you were the night of November 14th, 2 years ago? Or better yet, should I bring the receipts?" she snapped, pulling a manila envelope from her bag. And at that moment, the judge had to pound the gavel to regain control because the room erupted with chatter, whispers spreading like wildfire, and reporters scribbling furiously. Knowing this was more than just a legal hearing, it was a scandal, live and raw. Rashida, now trembling visibly, clutched a tissue as silent tears streaked her cheeks, her mind replaying years of suspicions, late-night phone calls, unexplained absences, all the little red flags she had brushed off in the name of loyalty. And suddenly they crashed back on her like a tidal wave of betrayal. "Stop it, Jasmine, you're lying. You always twist things to get attention," Rashida choked out, her voice trembling. But Jasmine only tilted her head with a cruel smirk and said, "If I'm lying, why is he still shaking?" The camera, flashes from the press popped like lightning, capturing every tear, every glance, every nervous twitch. And Kirk buried his face in his hands as if that could shield him from the truth clawing its way into the light. Fans later described this moment as surreal, with many saying Rashida's pain was so palpable it reached through the screen and broke their hearts, while others accused her of ignoring the truth for too long, saying she had chosen to stay blind to Kirk's behavior until it was too late. Meanwhile, Kirk finally found his voice, raising it louder than anyone had expected. "That's enough, Jasmine. You're not going to destroy my marriage with your lies." But the outburst only added fuel to the fire, because in the silence that followed, his desperation sounded less like a denial and more like an attempt to shut down the truth. Rashida looked at him then, really looked, searching his eyes for reassurance, but finding only guilt, and the tears came harder, unstoppable, as she whispered, "Is it true, Kirk? Tell me now. Is there another baby?" The entire courtroom leaned forward, hanging on his next words. The suspense so unbearable that even the judge momentarily paused. And Kirk's silence stretched on like a knife, slowly twisting. Jasmine, sensing victory, slammed her evidence folder onto the table, pulling out photos and text messages, waving them like a queen presenting her crown. And though no one could read them clearly from a distance, the expressions on the faces of those closest to the table said everything. There was substance. There was weight. There was enough there to make even the most loyal fan question everything. Rashida sobbed openly now, dabbing her tears but unable to stop them, her mascara smudging as cameras caught every heartbreaking detail. And the whispers in the gallery grew louder, phrases like "I knew it," and "poor Rashida" swirling. In the charged air, Kirk, visibly cornered, slammed his fist on the table, his voice booming. "This is between us, Jasmine, not the world." But Jasmine shot back instantly. "You made it the world's business when you lied on TV. When you made me the villain. When you made her believe she was the only one. Now, everyone deserves the truth." The clash of voices, the trembling of Rashida, the chaos of the room, it was the perfect storm. A blend of heartbreak, betrayal, and raw humanity that left even the coldest observers shaken. And as the judge once again called for order, Rashida sat slumped, shattered, clutching at the remains of her dignity while Kirk avoided her gaze. And Jasmine, though fiery, carried the air of someone who had just detonated a bomb she had been holding onto for far too long. Fans online were already piecing together timelines, digging up old interviews, revisiting episodes of Love and Hip Hop for hidden clues. And by the time court adjourned, the hashtags #RASHEEDA in tears, #Jasmine reveals, and #Kirk exposed were trending worldwide, cementing this day as one of the most unforgettable spectacles in the franchise's messy history. The moment the judge adjourned and banged the gavel, the room descended into an uproar that no bailiff could immediately control. People rushing to the aisles, bloggers whispering their hot takes into their phones, and even fans who had managed to sneak in as spectators shouting things like, "Rashida, we love you, stay strong," while others hurled accusations at Kirk, who sat frozen, caught between trying to defend himself and knowing that every move he made was being dissected by dozens of cameras and a public hungry for scandal. But the most haunting image was Rashida, hunched over, clutching a crumpled tissue in her trembling hand, as her friends tried to surround her like a shield. Though no one could protect her from the humiliation unfolding in real time, Jasmine, emboldened by the chaos she had unleashed, walked past Rashida with the confident strut of someone who believed she had nothing to lose. Leaning down just close enough to whisper, "Now he can't lie to you anymore," before sweeping out of the courtroom with her. Head held high, leaving reporters scrambling after her in a frenzy to get more sound bites. Rashida's best friend Kendra quickly wrapped an arm around her, muttering, "Don't listen to her. She just wants to see you hurt." But Rashida could barely form words, choking out only, "What if it's true? What if, all this time?" And her voice broke so deeply that even strangers nearby felt the sting of her heartbreak. Kirk, sensing the damage spiraling, finally stood, attempting to approach her, reaching out with shaking hands. "Babe, listen to me. Don't let her get in your head. You know how she is. You know she lies to make me look bad." But Rashida pulled back like his touch was fire, her teary eyes blazing with both pain and fury. And for the first time in a long time, she shouted, her voice cracking, "Then why can't you look me in the eye and just say it isn't true?" The silence that followed her demand was deafening. Everyone leaning in to see whether Kirk would stand his ground or crumble under the weight of his secrets. And though he tried to muster up the confidence, his words came out stammered and unconvincing. I didn't do what she's saying. She twists everything. She wants me to suffer." And though his denial hung in the air, it was the hesitation in his delivery that everyone remembered. Because hesitation in a moment like that is louder than any confession, fans online tore him apart. One viral tweet reading, "If Kirk was innocent, he would have screamed it from the rooftops. His silence tells the truth Rashida never wanted to hear." While another said, "Rashida deserves better, period." Back in the courthouse hallway, cameras captured Rashida breaking down fully, collapsing into Kendra's arms while other cast members, like Carly Red, tried to comfort her. Their faces etched with shock. Because even for women used to reality TV betrayals, this level of public humiliation was almost too much to bear. Jasmine, meanwhile, was outside holding court with reporters, saying in her cool, sharp tone, "I didn't want to have to do this, but I was tired of being painted as the liar while he pretended to be Mr. Family Man on camera. Well, the truth is out now. And whether people want to believe it or not, the receipts don't lie." And she waved the envelope again, igniting another frenzy of flashes and shouts from journalists desperate to get a closer look. The footage hit the internet within minutes, going viral on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And the comments were merciless, some siding with Jasmine and praising her for standing in her truth, others calling her messy and vindictive, and a significant majority pouring their hearts out to Rashida with hashtags like #StayStrong, RASHEED. By the time Rashida was escorted to her car, her face streaked with tears and makeup, the headlines were already being written. Rashida shattered by courtroom bombshell. Kirk caught between two worlds, and Jasmine's explosive reveal rocks Atlanta. Later that night, Rashida sat in her home, cameras no longer present, but the silence louder than ever. Her children sensing something was wrong, while Kirk tried pacing around the living room, rehearsing explanations, each one more feeble than the last. Until finally, Rashida snapped, "Do you understand what you've done to me? To us? Do you even realize how humiliated I was sitting there while she dragged our entire life through the mud?" Kirk, desperate, pleaded, "I never meant for this to happen. I didn't think she'd take it this far. I swear it's not what it looks like." But Rashida's tear-streaked face hardened into something else resolvent. She fired back, "That's the problem, Kirk. Everything with you is never what it looks like, and I'm done being the fool." Fans watching later on social media described this as the moment where Rashida's heartbreak turned into power, her pain boiling into rage that could no longer be contained. And it set the stage for what would come next. Because if Jasmine's reveal had cracked the surface, Rashida's looming decision threatened to split the entire family apart. Yet, even as she tried to retreat from the noise, the outside world wasn't letting go. Blogs speculated about paternity tests. Interview clips resurfaced showing Jasmine hinting at secrets that would come out eventually, and insiders whispered that this wasn't the first time Kirk's infidelities had led to whispers of children outside the marriage. The fan base fractured into camps, some begging Rashida to finally walk away, others clinging to hope that Kirk would redeem himself. But the undeniable truth was that the foundation had been shaken in a way that might never recover. As part 2 of this saga came to a close, Rashida sat alone in her room, scrolling through endless messages of support from fans, her tears drying as she whispered to herself, "I can't keep doing this," while Kirk stood outside the door, fist raised to knock but too afraid of what might come after. And Jasmine, somewhere across town, poured herself a drink and smiled into the camera of her phone as she posted, "Truth always wins in the end," setting the stage for an even more chaotic chapter to come. The fallout from that courtroom day spread faster than wildfire, and by the next morning the entire city was buzzing. The drama dominating every blog, gossip show, and trending list online, with fans dissecting every second of footage. From the moment Jasmine pulled out the manila envelope to the instant Rashida broke down in tears. And while the public treated it like the ultimate reality TV cliffhanger, inside the Frost household, the pain was raw and relentless. With Rashida refusing to speak to Kirk beyond clipped, icy sentences that cut deeper than screaming ever could. And Kirk pacing like a man trapped in a cage, muttering excuses to himself that even he didn't believe anymore. "You've embarrassed me. You've humiliated me in front of the world. And you still can't give me a straight answer," Rashida finally snapped late that night. her voice rising in a way her children had never heard before, and Kirk, exhausted and defensive, exploded back, "Because no matter what I say, you've already decided I'm guilty." Jasmine knows how to twist everything, and she's been doing this for years. But the argument only underscored the fracture between them, the trust that had once been their strongest bond now reduced to ashes. Meanwhile, Jasmine was making the most of her moment, sitting down for an impromptu interview with a popular gossip blogger, where she doubled down on her claims, saying, "I didn't come to play, I came with facts. Kirk and I have history, and the world deserves to know that he hasn't been honest about it." Her calm yet cutting tone making it clear she was unbothered by the storm she had stirred. The blogger pushed for details, asking, "Are you saying there's absolutely another child?" And Jasmine, smirking directly into the camera, replied, "I'm saying Rashida isn't the only one who built a family with him. Now do with that what you will." That clip alone broke the internet, fans reacting with everything from shock to fury. Some calling Jasmine bold for airing it out, while others branded her the ultimate homewrecker. But no matter the take, everyone agreed. This was the scandal of the year. Back in Rashida's world, friends and castmates began visiting, some offering comfort, others whispering warnings, like Carly, who leaned in one afternoon and said, "Girl, if she's waving around receipts, you better believe she's got something, and you need to protect yourself," while Sierra countered, "Don't let Jasmine win by breaking y'all up. You fought through worse." Rashida sat silently through it all, her mind spiraling with memories, every red flag she had ignored, every time she had defended Kirk publicly, every night she had cried in private, until finally, one afternoon, she decided to confront Jasmine directly, demanding answers. Face-to-face cameras captured the moment the two women met at a cafe. Tensions so high even the waitstaff froze in place, and without hesitation Rashida slammed her purse on the table, leaning forward with tearful determination as she asked, "Why are you doing this to me? Why now?" Jasmine.com, as ever, sipped her drink before responding, "Because you deserve to know the truth, and because he's been lying to both of us. You think I enjoy being the villain? No, but I'm not going to let him hide behind you anymore." The exchange grew heated fast, with Rashida's pain boiling over into anger, her voice shaking as she spat, "You don't get to play savior when you've been creeping around with my husband for years. You ruined my family." Jasmine shot back, eyes flashing, "He ruined it. He made promises to me, just like he made to you, and now it's all catching up to him. Don't blame me for the lies he told." The cafe fell silent, patrons pretending not to listen but hanging on to every word, while cameras rolled for what would become one of the most iconic confrontations in the show's messy history. Outside, Kirk waited in the car, sweating bullets, knowing that whatever was happening inside would decide the fate of his marriage. And when Rashida finally stormed out, tears streaking her face but her head held high, she refused to even glance at him, leaving him stranded as she drove off with a friend. Fans online erupted once the clip aired, split between those who thought Rashida was finally finding her strength, and those who believed Jasmine had crossed a line. And once again the hashtags lit up. Hashtag Team Rasheeda, hashtag Team Jasmine, and even hashtag Kirk exposed, trending worldwide. That night, Rashida locked herself in her room, scrolling through endless fan messages urging her to leave Kirk. And though her heart still clung to years of love and loyalty, her mind began drafting a future where she could finally be free of the cycle of betrayal. Kirk, meanwhile, called Jasmine in a fit of anger. The phone call leaked later by someone close to Jasmine's camp, where Kirk's voice could be heard raging, "Why would you do this to me? You've destroyed everything." And Jasmine coolly responding, "You destroyed it yourself when you lied to everyone. Don't blame me for telling the truth." That leaked audio spread like wildfire, further painting Kirk as the man caught in his own lies, and leaving Rashida more conflicted than ever. Because while the world seemed to think Jasmine was telling the truth, part of Rashida still wanted to believe the man she loved couldn't betray her this deeply again. But the more the days passed, the more cracks showed, with old text messages resurfacing, photos circulating, and whispers turning into roars. Until finally Rashida stood in front of Kirk one evening and declared, "I want the truth. All of it, because if I don't hear it from you now, I'll take Jasmine's word over yours." The ultimatum hung heavy in the room, Kirk's silence more deafening than any explosion. And Rashida knew in that moment her next move would define not just her marriage, but her dignity, her legacy, and her place in the messy yet unforgettable world she had built. The ultimatum Rashida laid down shook the very foundation of the Frost household. And for the first time in a long time, Kirk had no slick excuses, no quick words to soften the blow, just silence, heavy, suffocating silence that told Rashida more than any confession could, and in that moment her tears dried, replaced by a cold determination that fans later called her rebirth moment. The second she decided to put her worth above his lies. Yet before she could walk away, Kirk finally broke, blurting out, "Yes, there's another child, but it's not how Jasmine made it sound. I didn't want it to come out like this." And his words shattered whatever fragile hope Rashida had been clinging to, her knees buckling as she gasped in disbelief, clutching the edge of the sofa for support. While Kirk scrambled toward her, trying to explain, his voice frantic, "I was scared, I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could handle it quietly. I didn't want the world to tear us apart." But his pleas fell flat, because the very thing he was trying to avoid had now consumed them. The revelations sent shockwaves online once leaked through a closed source. Fans flooding timelines with messages of support for Rashida but also blasting Kirk for dragging her through public humiliation yet again. With trending posts reading, "She deserves peace," and "Kirk stays disrespecting her legacy." While Jasmine wasted no time, hopping on Instagram Live the very next day to gloat, saying, "Y'all heard it from his own mouth. I didn't have to lie about nothing," her smugness only further inflaming the fire. Rashida, however, wasn't about to let Jasmine write the narrative of her pain. She gathered herself, called her closest circle of friends, and filmed a confessional-style clip that went viral. Her voice steady though her eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights. "I've given my all to this man, I've stood by him, through storms, but I refuse to drown in another one. At some point, love without respect isn't love at all." That clip lit up the internet, with fans dubbing her the Queen of Strength and pushing hashtags like #respect RASHEEDA to the top of the charts. And suddenly the tide turned. This wasn't just messy drama anymore. It became a movement, about self-respect, about women refusing to be humiliated publicly by men who couldn't stay loyal. Meanwhile, Kirk was spiraling, desperate to control the damage. Calling producers, begging friends, even trying to show up at Rashida's studio with flowers and apologies. But she refused to see him, locking him out both physically and emotionally. While Jasmine stirred the pot further by releasing screenshots of alleged conversations where Kirk had told her, "I'll always be in your life, no matter what," fueling debates online about whether Kirk had ever truly cut ties. Castmates began to pick sides, Carly blasting Kirk on social media with "You've embarrassed her enough, let her breathe," while Scrappy posted cryptically, "A real man owns up to his mistakes," which fans instantly took as shade toward Kirk. The drama spilled into every corner of Atlanta. Paparazzi chasing Rashida at malls, asking if she was filing for divorce, while Kirk dodged questions at gas stations, his face a mask of guilt and fatigue. And then came the moment no one expected. Rashida confronted Jasmine one last time, not in anger, but in icy clarity, cameras rolling as she sat across from her in a dimly lit lounge, her voice calm but cutting. "Congratulations, you won. You got what you wanted. But don't think for a second that means you broke me. I'm still standing. I'm still working. I'm still me. You'll never take that from me." Jasmine, caught off guard by Rashida's composure, faltered for once, her smirk fading just slightly. While Rashida stood and walked out, leaving the world to see that even in heartbreak, she owned the narrative. Fans flooded social media with love, calling it her mic drop moment. And blogs ran with headlines like "Rashida rises from the ashes and the Queen reclaims her crown," while Kirk was left in the shadows, scrambling to salvage what little reputation he had left. As the dust settled, questions remained. Would Rashida finally file for divorce? Would Kirk find a way back into her life, or had the final straw truly been pulled? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, was Jasmine done, or did she still have more secrets tucked away, waiting to detonate at the perfect time? Whatever the future held, one thing was undeniable: this explosive saga had not only redefined Rashida's story, it had carved itself into reality TV history. A painful yet unforgettable reminder that in a world built on cameras and confessionals, the truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how deeply someone tries to bury it. As the dust settled from the chaos of Jasmine's bombshell and Rashida's heartbreaking reaction, the entire Love and Hip Hop Atlanta cast found themselves living inside a storm that refused to die down. Social media was still on fire. Blogs were dropping new so-called exclusive updates by the hour. and every entertainment platform was circling the drama like vultures. The reveal that Kirk might be fathering a second child with Jasmine had not only shattered Rashida's peace but had also opened a fresh wound for the entire cast, forcing each of them to take sides or risk being dragged into the scandal. What came next was nothing short of explosive, a mixture of confrontations, reconciliations, and dramatic twists that nobody could have predicted. Behind closed doors, Rashida was said to be struggling with waves of betrayal and exhaustion. Friends close to her claimed she hadn't slept properly since the reveal. While cameras captured her tears, fans online noticed a newfound strength in her silence. She wasn't lashing out, wasn't playing into the drama on Instagram Live. Instead, she seemed to be waiting, watching, and quietly plotting her next move. And that silence only made the tension worse. Viewers speculated endlessly. Would Rashida finally leave Kirk for good? Would she go after Jasmine legally? Or was she about to reinvent herself once again, turning pain into power as she had done before? The suspense was almost unbearable. Meanwhile, Kirk was cornered like never before. For years, his image had been tied to infidelity scandals, but this revelation about a possible second child with Jasmine felt like the final straw. Cameras caught him trying to explain himself to Rashida, but she was no longer buying the same excuses. The distance between them was visible. She wasn't yelling or breaking down anymore, but the coldness in her eyes said it all. Her trust had been demolished. Even Kirk's closest friends admitted he looked terrified, not just of losing his wife, but of losing the respect of the public, something he had fought for after years of questionable behavior. Fans online weren't kind either. Memes about Kirk flooded Twitter, painting him as the poster child of bad husbands. And yet, in a strange twist, some viewers still rooted for him, hoping he could repair the damage, if not with Rashida, then at least with his reputation. Jasmine, on the other hand, leaned fully into the spotlight. The reveal had placed her front and center, and she wasn't about to back down. Critics accused her of chasing clout, but Jasmine played the victim card skillfully. She appeared in interviews insisting that she was only fighting for her truth and her child's place in Kirk's life. She claimed she didn't want drama and honesty. But behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Jasmine had timed her bombshell reveal perfectly to reignite her storyline and secure more relevance on the show. Whether calculated or not, her move worked. She became the name everyone was talking about, hated by some, admired by others, but impossible to ignore. The ripple effects reached the rest of the cast. Carly Red, known for stirring the pot, wasted no time throwing shade in her confessionals, suggesting that Jasmine's reveal was only the beginning and hinting that even more secrets might surface. Sierra tried to comfort Rashida, but she couldn't hide her own curiosity about how things would unfold. Even Scrappy and Bambi were dragged into the conversation, with fans accusing them of taking sides. Suddenly, the entire group dynamic was fractured. Trust was gone, alliances were shifting, and every interaction was laced with tension. What truly set this chapter apart, however, was the public's reaction. Fans weren't just watching, they were participating in the drama. Hashtags like #RASHEEDA, #KirkExposed, and #JasmineBombshell trended for days. TikTok creators reenacted the scene of the reveal, adding exaggerated cries or mocking Kirk's nervous face. Twitter threads broke down the timeline of Kirk and Jasmine's alleged affair like it was a true crime investigation. Even celebrity bloggers chimed in, offering their 2 cents on the scandal, making it impossible for the cast to escape the noise. And then came the ultimate confrontation, another sit-down orchestrated by producers, meant to bring Kirk, Rashida, and Jasmine together one last time. The room was tense from the moment they walked in. Rashida arrived poised but icy. Kirk looked pale and defeated, and Jasmine entered with a mix of confidence and defiance. What unfolded was raw, emotional, and unforgettable. Rashida didn't scream or break down. Instead, she calmly listed every betrayal, every humiliation, every scar Kirk had left on her marriage. Her voice shook not with weakness, but with power. The audience watching at home could feel her pain as she asked the one question that cut deeper than anything else. Why wasn't I ever enough? Kirk, cornered and teary-eyed, tried to explain himself, mumbling about mistakes and confusion, but his words felt hollow. Jasmine, when pressed, doubled down. She insisted she wasn't the villain and that Kirk had been the one pursuing her, not the other way around. Her refusal to back down only fueled the fire. At one point, Rashida's silence spoke louder than anything. She stood up, adjusted her outfit, and simply said, "I don't need either of you to define me anymore." With that, she walked out, leaving Kirk and Jasmine stunned, the producers scrambling, and fans at home screaming at their TVs. That single walkout became iconic. GIFs of Rashida leaving circulated everywhere, turning her into a symbol of strength, and self-respect. Blogs labeled it the most boss move of the season, while fans flooded her Instagram with comments praising her bravery. For once, the scandal didn't bury her, it elevated her. Rashida had turned heartbreak into empowerment, and the audience was here for it. In the days that followed, Kirk was left alone, both in the storyline and in public perception. His attempts to apologize online were met with ridicule, and even his own castmates seemed hesitant to stand by him. Jasmine, meanwhile, continued her campaign of claiming innocence. But without Rashida to spar with, her storyline began to fizzle. What had started as Jasmine's moment of power ultimately ended with Rashida stealing the spotlight by refusing to play the game anymore. The finale episode wrapped with Rashida sitting in her boutique, surrounded by her business empire, reflecting on everything that had happened. Her final words were calm but cutting. "You can't control how people treat you, but you can control what you allow. And I'm done allowing the same pain on repeat." The screen faded to black, leaving fans with chills and sparking endless debates about what would happen next season. In the end, Jasmine's bombshell may have shaken the table. But it was Rashida who walked away stronger, Kirk who walked away broken, and viewers who walked away hooked, already begging for the next chapter of this messy, unforgettable saga. As the dust settled from the shocking confirmations, the atmosphere among the cast shifted from fiery confrontations to heavy emotional exhaustion. The cameras captured Rashida like never before, no longer the strong, composed woman who had weathered years of relationship struggles in the public eye, but a wife and mother visibly worn down by betrayal. In a heartbreaking scene, Rashida sat in her confessional, tears silently streaming as she struggled to speak through the weight of her emotions. "It's not even about Jasmine at this point," she admitted in a trembling voice. "It's about the man I've built my whole life with, the man I've given everything to. And now, I'm sitting here wondering if any of it even mattered." Fans watching the preview clips described feeling chills. This was the rawest version of Rashida, stripped of the armor she usually carried. Meanwhile, Jasmine was navigating her own storm. Though many painted her as the villain, her tears told a different story. In her confessional, she revealed how lonely and judged she felt. "People see me as the problem, but nobody's asking what it's like to raise a child in this kind of situation. I didn't ask for all this pain. I didn't ask to be hated by half of Atlanta." That rare moment of vulnerability caught even her critics off guard, sparking debates online about whether Jasmine deserved sympathy or scorn. Kirk, however, seemed to shrink into silence. For once, the man who usually tried to rationalize his decisions had no words that could heal the damage. At one point, producers asked if he felt guilty for the way things had played out, and Kirk quietly whispered, "I regret everything." It was a stunning admission, but it came far too late for Rashida, who was already considering whether she could continue her marriage at all. The fallout didn't just stay confined to the love and hip-hop set. Social media erupted with hashtags like #PrayForRasheeda and #KirkExposed, with fans split down the middle. Some demanded Rashida walk away for good, while others urged forgiveness for the sake of the family. Celebrities even chimed in, with some showing support for Rashida's strength, while others condemned Kirk for his repeated patterns. The storyline had become bigger than reality TV. It was now a cultural conversation about love, betrayal, and resilience. Back at home, the tension in Rashida and Kirk's household was unbearable. Scenes showed Rashida isolating herself, refusing to speak to Kirk, and focusing entirely on her children. Friends who visited her during filming revealed she was in survival mode, protecting her.